Hello. Now, continuing our work in patterns, we're going to be looking at what we call sequences, which we touched on already. And we're going to be looking at page 234 in your textbook. So page 234, and we're going to have a look at question 2. Now, if we have a read of that, here is a strip of red and green blocks, and we can see the first one block is red, the second block is green, the third block is red, the fourth block is green, and so on. Assume the pattern continues indefinitely. Copy and complete this table, and I have the table started here in my book. So I have my first block was red, my second block was green, so I know if the pattern continues, the next block will be red, the next block will be green, the next block will be red, the next block will be green, the next block will be red, the next block will be green, the next block will be red, the next block will be green, the next block will be red, and so on. So that's my table all finished out. And remember, in maths we don't need to write out full words most of the time, particularly when you're drawing out a table or actually doing maths. You can use single letters so long as you're clear about what you're doing. And I think or for red and G for green is perfectly reasonable there. Now, if we have a look at part 2, list the position numbers of the first 10 red blocks. So where's my first red block? It's at position 1. The second red block is at position 3. So my reds. My first block is at 1. My second block is at 3. My third block is at 5. My fourth block is at 7. My fifth block is at 9. And now I have to start thinking about this. What kind of pattern can I see here? So this is a list of numbers, so I can write out terms for this. So my first term is 1, my second term is 2, my third term is 3. Now what am I doing to get between my terms each time? I'm adding 2, and I'm doing the same thing each time. So what's my next number going to be here? It's going to be 11, then 13, then 15, then 17, then 19. And that's going to be, if I count up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's my 10th term in my list. So that's as far as I'm asked to go. Now, let's have a look at part B. What do we notice about these numbers? So these are my numbers for my positions of my red blocks. So I have 1, 3, 5, 7. Well, I've already started one explanation of it. I start at 1. I start at 1 and I add 2 each time. That's one rule that's going to get me this, but there's actually a more convenient one that we can probably all see. These are odd numbers. My writing is not wonderful. They're odd numbers. They're odd numbers. So that's going to help us in a little bit, because we now have a very good way of describing our red blocks. They're going to be the odd numbered blocks. Now so let's have a look at question C. List the position numbers of the first 10 green blocks. So now we're dealing with the green blocks. And I look to my table and my second block is green. My fourth block is green. My sixth block is green. My eighth block is green. And my 10th block is green. So let's go back and have a look at our terms again. Our first term is 2. Our second term is 4. Our third term is 6. Our fourth term is 8. Well, what are we doing each time? Same as before. We find that we're adding 2 each time. 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And if we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's my 10th term. Now what can we see about these numbers before we are asked any questions? What can we see about that pattern? What can we spot? We can see that they're even numbers. Let's see if that helps us in the next part. What do you notice about these numbers? So we could say, and this is going to be important for later on in the chapter, we're starting at 2 and we add 2 each time. Or we could say that these are even numbers. So now we have, at the moment this pattern is more convenient for us. We're going to come back to this way of describing it later on in the chapter. It's important that you have these in the back of your mind. Where we start and how we're getting to the next term is going to be very important later on. But for right now we can see that we have a very good explanation. The reds are going to be our odd numbered blocks, and the greens are going to be our even numbered blocks. Now based on that, let's have a look at question E. What colour is the 50th block? How do you know? Well, we've just talked about that, haven't we? 50 would be, we're talking about our 50th block. Our 50th block must be green, because we know that 50 is an even number, and our green blocks are our even numbered blocks. So it must be green, as 50 is even. Let's have a look at F. What colour is the 51st block? How do you know? Well, if I look at my pattern here, if I had 16, or actually let's start at the very beginning. If I had 2 was my was a green block, then 3 would be red. Or if 4 was a green block, then 5 would be red. The next number on would be red. So that means the 51st block. Put another way, the 51st block is an odd numbered block, therefore it must be red, because we know all of the odd numbered blocks are red.